The Chinese mobile manufacturer Appsung recently decided to open a factory in Breda to produce and assemble mobile phones under the Appsung brand, which can be sold in the European Union. All raw materials necessary for production are directly imported from China, while plastic covers of the phones come from Brazil. Materials and chemical compounds need to be stocked, handled and disposed properly according to the safe prescription of the law. Therefore, the company needs advice on how to follow the Waste Framework Directive and to comply with the REACH, CLP and the Dutch registers. In this movie, the content of such EU and Dutch legislations will be explained and advice will be given to the company. Appsung is a company that is covered under a few Dutch legislations. To comply with the legislations, the company needs to get a permit and register accordingly. By doing so, the company will automatically be registered to the Dutch risk map. Close to the company, sensitive objects are located such as schools, living complexes and hospitals. These pose a group risk because of high concentration of human activities. Other objects can increase the risk during a disaster like LPG tank stations. Appsung should register the company accordingly. To do so, the company should do a risk analysis and include a risk map assessment. This information is needed to register and to receive a permit according to the Dutch Environmental Management. REACH stands for Registration, Evaluation, Authorization and Restriction of Chemicals. It is a regulation of the European Union aiming to improve the protection of human health and the environment from the risks that can be posed by chemicals. Companies have the burden of gathering information about the chemicals' properties and the usage of chemicals that they manufacture or import for an annual overweight of 1 ton. It's the own responsibility of the company to give hazardous information and write an assessment of the possibilities of risks that can be caused by the chemicals. This information is directly communicated to ECHA through a registration dossier. A registration is not essential for all chemicals. For example, radioactive compounds, waste, medicines, pesticides might be not included. In this case, other legislations are liable. Appsung mostly uses substances which are already registered on ECHA. In this case, information on classification, labeling and packaging, together with material safety data sheets, needs to be retrieved from other companies that are listed in the substance list as provided. Important is that compliance needs to be verified by Appsung. In case a substance is of very high concern, an alternative needs to be probed, even if the annual weight is below 1 ton. Although an application might be possible under very strict conditions, it is not advisable due to the high cost and long registration time. CLP is a European Union regulation on the classification, labeling and packaging of substances and mixtures of chemicals. CLP is based on the United Nations globally harmonized system, which was developed to provide a single system to identify hazardous chemicals across the world. The main principle of CLP is self-classification of hazardous chemicals by CLP classification criteria, which is obligatory for manufacturers, importers, distributors or downstream users. There is a layout of designed label according to the CLP classification criteria. All components are shown in the label which are required for a CLP self-classification, which includes the product identifier, that includes the name of the compound and a CAS registry number, the supplier identification, that gives information on the name of the supplier, the address and the phone number, the hazard pictograms. These are diamond-shaped symbols according to a CLP regulation that depict the risks posed by a substance. The signal words, the words warning and danger, are used to alert the user about the risk of a compound. Warning is used for less severe substances and danger for the more toxic substances. Precautionary statements prescribe the correct way of handling a chemical. Hazard statements are standardized phrases to inform about hazard effects for the human and the environment of a substance. Supplemental information may include an instruction for proper use of the product, the gross and the net weight of the package and the expiration date. Chemical substances should be labeled according to the CLP regulation as it is required by the European Union. The labels must contain at least the information as shown in the example label to provide proper information on risk and safety for the users. We advise to use the designed layout of the label where all information is clearly visible and readable in both Dutch and English. All necessary information which should be included for the label is shown in the table of advice prepared for all the compounds. This is the current location of the factory site. However, displacement may need further assessment, as you will see in the description of the Dutch risk map. Chemical storage facility is divided to several compartments. Substances of very high concern are saturated in separate area and should not be in contact with any other chemical because of high potential risks, for instance carcinogenesis and mutagenesis. In the bottom right of the storage facility are found the flammable substances with a specially secured thick wall to make sure contact with other chemicals is avoided. Keep room under temperature of 20 degrees because of the potential risk of ignition. Toxic and corrosive substances should be stored on corrosion-resistant material. The separate storage of these chemicals reduces risks of fire or explosion, as well as damage in case of an accident. The cooling area next to it is necessary to prevent volatilization and degradation of suspectable substances. The hallway is spacious and ensures safe transport and movement of chemicals. Compartment categories are separated with correct safety distances. Overall, the storage facility should be a cool and dry place with proper ventilation. Further requirements include concrete anti-leakage floor and structure, drainage system surrounding the structure, anti-fire sprinkling defense system, planned emergency escape routes, alarm alert, a proper labeling of compartments, avoidance of coupling of incompatible chemicals, and a qualified staff.